I watched a brief documentary from Joy News TV about most of our idol factories lying down, neglected by both present and past government. Just take a look and I will be right back.
Now, in the last 2 weeks, Joy News has brought you a number of features, stories on factories that have been out of production for a while now. We brought you the story of the rusting Commander Sugar Factory, the idle Aveime Rice Project, the rotting Pwalugu Tomato Factory, the dormant Ayensu Starch Factory, and the Kumasi Jute Factory. I want you to pay attention to what I'm about to tell you. Over $200 million worth of sugar is imported into the country each year, and yet the Commander Sugar Factory is rusting away. 60% of the fish we eat in Ghana is imported, and yet we have lakes, rivers, lagoons, and the sea. We import fresh tomatoes, ketchup, and canned tomatoes despite our fertile soils and the redundant Pwalugu Tomato Factory. We import $1.2 billion worth of rice annually, imports which could have been significantly reduced if the Aveime Rice Project was up and running. Many of our foodstuffs are bagged in jute sacks from Ivory Coast, whilst the Kumasi Jute Factory wastes away. So I could go on and on and on, but what breaks my heart is that even toothpicks, these simple, it's refusing to come out, but these simple wooden toothpicks, these toothpicks are imported. I touched on just 5 items which cost the country almost $2 billion US. That's $2 billion worth of jobs, resources, and forex shipped out of the country. This does not make sense. I repeat, it doesn't make sense. Now, as much as government says it is seeking to partner private firms to build more factories, could we revive the old ones rusting away so we can ease the pressure on the Ghana city and keep some jobs in the country? I hope you get the picture, Mr. President, because that's why we've been featuring stories about idle factories.
I'm sure you have seen this pathetic story of the state of our country. Idle factories that has been left to rot for the past 20 years or so. And there are more factories or more projects that have been neglected from during the past 30 years of our democratic rule, and even beyond from the days of Kwame Nkrumah. $20 million worth of sugar is imported every year, yet Commander Sugar Factory has been neglected. Ghana imports 99.5 million worth of tomatoes, yet we have neglected and left Pwalugu Tomato Factory to rot. This is not making sense. Who has done this evil to us? Who has bewitched us? Who did this to us? Can you imagine? 1.2 billion worth of rice imported into the country every year, yet neglected Aveime Rice Factory. What is wrong with us? Where are the leaders? Where is the leadership? Where is the leadership that wants to put Ghana in the midst of decision making and put Ghana first? Where is that leadership? Where are the patriotic leaders? We don't need politicians to drive our nation. We need patriotic citizens to move our country forward. If all these buildings and factories that have been neglected are put to good use, it will reduce the unemployment in our country. The massive unemployment, it will reduce the massive unemployment in our country. It will also help us to manage our foreign exchange reserve and improve the quality of the lives of our people. Who did this to us? Who bewitched us? In Ghana, the Ghana language will say, no more kwenye aye, no more kwenye aye Ghana be, no more kwenye aye, who bewitched us. What kind of leaders do we have that do not think about the forward march of the country, the development of our nation, and they just don't care and left all uncompleted buildings, and then they begin committing themselves to new developments? We need to turn the fortunes of our country around. We need to do something, and it must be done now. The problem has been lack of intentional leadership, lack of visionary leadership driving our country, lack of patriotic leadership that wants to move our country. We cannot continue the NPP, NDC recycling of these leaders again. 30 solid years have been given to them, 16 years apiece, and yet this is where we find ourselves. They have no excuse for the idle factories under their leadership. This is the time we must take our nation back from unpatriotic leaders to move our country forward. So what can we do? I suggest some of the things we can consider. Number one, we don't need politicians, but we need patriotic citizens with Ghana at heart who will provide leadership for our country. Number two, there should not be the need for any party to come out with their manifestos for 2024 elections. We don't need their manifestos. We've had enough. Number three, what we need to do is a government of continuity. What can we do to move our country forward? We don't need the manifestos and all the lavish promises. We don't need those things. Number four, what we need is that a government that will consider putting together all the unfinished projects in our country across all the regions. Let's prioritize them according to the needs of our regions, according to the needs of our nation. Let's list all the unfinished projects from the days of Kwame Nkrumah to date. Enough of the manifestos. Enough of what any party wants to do or not do. Enough of those things. Let's go back, compile, put together all the unfinished projects, so that in the next 4 years, that should be one of the things we should tackle as a government and as a people. I am aware we can't definitely complete all the unfinished projects from the days of Kwame Nkrumah to date. However, within the next 4 years, we will be able to move the nation forward if we commit ourselves to the completion of these unfinished projects. Let us think Ghana. Let us grow Ghana. Let us develop Ghana. And let's put Ghana in the midst of our decision making. And let's put Ghana first in our national politics. Are we sitting down to allow the few who call themselves politicians to wreck the future of our country and the destiny of our children and grandchildren? Where is the patriotic spirit of the Ghanaian that was in our founding fathers? Where is that patriotic spirit today? Why has the professional bodies, most of the professional bodies, allowed the demonic partisan politics to blind their judgment that they can't do anything and they don't speak, or they will only speak depending upon which government is in power or not in power? For how long are we going to sit down and to watch our nation perish? For how long? Who bewitched us? Who did this to us? May God help our nation Ghana and stir our young men and women to rise up and redeem this nation and save this nation, or else we perish. Thank you, and may God help our nation Ghana.